Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us, learner.
Hello.
Today we're diving into Quentin Tarantino's 2019 film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. We've got a really interesting collection of info here. Cast, crew, loads of behind-the-scenes stuff, reactions.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. It's one of those films people are still talking about.
Yeah,
Dissecting.
definitely. So our mission today is to sort of pull out the most intriguing bits about how this movie got made and the impact it had.
Sounds good. Where should we start? The basics.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, written and directed by Tarantino, obviously, stars Leonardo DiCaprio as Rick Dalton.
A fading TV star, yeah.
And Brad Pitt as Cliff Booth, his stunt double, and Margot Robbie playing Sharon Tate.
Plus a whole roster of familiar faces, Emile Hirsch, Al Pacino.
Right, the list goes on. Pacino as Marvin Schwartz, the agent.
And getting that kind of cast together, I mean, it really shows the pull Tarantino has, doesn't it?
Right.
Big stars, up-and-comers, they all want to be in his sandbox.
Absolutely, and the scale of the production.
Yeah.
It's huge. You look at the crew list, Robert Richardson on cinematography, Arion Phillips doing costumes.
Crucial for nailing that 69 vibe.
Totally, even down to, like, uncredited actors. It just speaks volumes about the effort to recreate that specific time and place, 1969 Hollywood.
It really does. It takes a village, as they say, especially for something this ambitious. Every department firing on all cylinders.
And something that jumps out right away is that commitment to authenticity, but also playing with it, like the detail about Sharon Tate watching herself in the wrecking crew.
Oh, yeah, using the actual footage of her.
Exactly, not a recreation.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of blurs the line between the film and the real history right from the start.
It does, and it's quite poignant, isn't it? Considering the real-life events.
Yeah.
It sets up that meta-commentary the film engages in.
Let's dig into the characters a bit more. Rick Dalton. His whole struggle feels very rooted in that specific moment, 1969. Hollywood was changing.
Yeah, the old studio system was kind of crumbling, right? Giving way to the new Hollywood filmmakers. So, guys like Rick, established stars, they were feeling the ground shift beneath them.
And Tarantino calling it his most personal script. That adds another layer.
It does. Makes you wonder if it's purely nostalgia, or if it's also tapping into those anxieties artists always face, staying relevant in a changing world.
And the Rick and Cliff dynamic seems like it had some real-world roots. Tarantino compared them to Redford and Newman.
That classic pairing, yeah. But also, the sources suggest strong links to Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham, his stuntman.
Especially with Rick playing the villain in that FBI episode.
Which Reynolds actually did in real life.
Right, it's these layered references, even Cliff's outfit, the double denim.
Billy Jack, Tom Laughlin, it's all woven together.
Tarantino's definitely a master at synthesizing those influences, creating something familiar but new.
It makes the characters feel grounded, even within this sort of heightened reality. These relationships felt real.
And speaking of feeling real, apparently that line Brad Pitt delivers.
Oh, you're Rick fucking Dalton.
Yeah.
line.
Yeah. That was supposedly ad-libbed, Pitt drawing on his own early career stuff.
That's fantastic. Sometimes those spontaneous moments are the ones that really land, Adds a layer the script maybe didn't even fully capture.
It really shows an actor connecting deeply with the material and maybe the anxieties of the character too.
Definitely.
And then there's the sheer effort of recreating the era, shutting down the Hollywood freeway.
Without CGI. That's commitment.
In this day and age, it's pretty remarkable, that dedication to practical filmmaking.
It really grounds the film, gives it that tangible feel. You believe you're there in 69 because, well, they kind of were there on the actual freeway.
Beyond the big set pieces, though, there are those little details, like Rick having that giant movie poster of himself on his driveway.
Ah, yes. Inspired by Tarantino visiting Lee Van Cleef's house, apparently.
It's those personal touches, right? They just add texture, makes the world feel lived in.
Little Easter eggs for those in the know, but they enrich the whole thing.
And the way they used real TV shows is fascinating, too. That FBI episode, all the streets are silent.
And they digitally put Rick Dalton into Burt Reynolds' role.
Yeah. It's such a clever technique, blurring fiction and reality again.
And the Lancer episode they show being filmed.
The High Riders, apparently, with Leo playing the part originally done by Joe Don Baker.
And the director in the film, Sam Wanamaker.
He was a real director.
Yeah.
An actor. Directed the pilot for Reynolds' show Hawk.
It's just layers upon layers of Hollywood history folding in on itself. It's quite brilliant, really.
Then you have the casting stories. Burt Reynolds was originally meant to play George Spahn.
Yeah, so sad he passed away before filming. Bruce Dern stepped in.
And Bill Paxton was meant for the James Stacey role, another actor gone too soon.
It adds a sort of melancholy note to the production history.
And Leo taking a pay cut.
A 25% cut, yeah. Just to work with Tarantino again and keep it on budget.
That really says something about the desire to be part of these projects. It's not just a job.
No, it suggests a real passion for the filmmaker and the material.
Now, shifting gears a bit, the Bruce Lee portrayal, that definitely stirred things up.
Uh-huh. His daughter, Shannon Lee, wasn't happy, felt it made him look arrogant.
And Tarantino's response referenced Lee's own biography and some alleged reputation among stuntmen for being a bit rough in fight scenes.
Right, trying to justify maybe why Cliff might have had some friction with him, though the film itself presents it more like a sparring match, interrupted before there's a winner.
Yeah, it wasn't definitively one-sided in the scene itself.
Still, it highlights that tricky area of depicting real people, especially icons, in fiction. Different interpretations are bound to emerge.
True. And speaking of characters with complexities, let's talk about Cliff Booth.
Cliff. The big question mark hanging over him is his wife's death, right?
Exactly. Rick seems to think it was an accident, but pretty much everyone else suspects Cliff killed her.
And the novelization apparently confirms it, that he did do it intentionally.
Yeah, that's what the sources say. But the film leaves it ambiguous.
Which is arguably more interesting, cinematically. It lets the audience wrestle with it, makes Cliff more morally gray.
Definitely adds to his enigma.
So the film doesn't shy away from the darkness lurking beneath the sunshine, does it? The Manson family element.
No, it leans into it. The Spahn Ranch scenes were apparently designed to feel like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
You definitely get that creepy, unsettling vibe.
And that moment where Manson himself shows up at the Tate house? That actually happened, didn't it? A similar encounter?
Yeah, a brief interaction with Sharon Tate and Jay Sebring. The film mirrors that reality before diverging dramatically.
Right, the ending. The big what if. Rick and Cliff basically stopping the murders.
That revisionist history is so central. It's maybe the defining choice of the film, confronting the tragedy and offering this alternate, almost fairy tale outcome.
Which ties into the title, doesn't it? Once Upon a Time.
Exactly. It's an homage to Sergio Leone, who Tarantino loves. Leone's films often had that epic, slightly mythic feel.
Like a fairy tale about Hollywood. It signals right away this isn't strict history.
No, it's a story, a reflection on history viewed through that nostalgic, maybe even romantic lens.
Even the music choices reinforce things. Sharon Tate playing Good Thing by Paul Revere and the Raiders.
Produced by Terry Melcher.
Who lived in the house before Tate and Polanski and was the original Manson target.
It's chilling, that detail. Adds such an ironic layer to her enjoying the music. Tarantino rarely wastes a music cue.
So the film comes out, gets massive praise at Cannes, that long-standing ovation.
7 minutes, yeah. Awards buzz.
But audience reactions were more mixed, weren't they? Some loved it, called it a masterpiece. Others found it maybe slow, plotless, or wanted more focus on the Manson aspect.
It's definitely not a conventional narrative. It ambles, it spends time with the characters just living in that world. And yeah, if you went in expecting a straightforward thriller about the murders, you'd be surprised.
Understanding the real history, Sharon Tate's story, the Manson murders, it seems pretty crucial to fully grasp what the film is doing, especially with that ending.
Absolutely. The ending's impact, whether you find it cathartic or problematic, depends heavily on knowing what actually happened.
So, learner, wrapping this up, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood really comes across as this incredibly detailed, deeply personal love letter to a specific Hollywood era.
Yeah, packed with references, historical nods, but also shaped by Tarantino's unique perspective and his willingness to rewrite the script of history itself.
We've touched on that blend of fact and fiction, the character inspirations, the amazing practical filmmaking, the controversies, the different ways people reacted.
It's clear it's more than just a movie, isn't it? It's this layered exploration of a time, a place, myth-making.
Viewed through Tarantino's very specific lens. So after all this, what stands out most to you? Does that fairy tale ending work, or does it clash too much with the real tragedy?
That's the central question, I think. It's provocative.
It really is. And maybe this dive inspires you, learner, to watch it again with fresh eyes, or dig deeper into the real '69 Hollywood. Thanks for bringing these sources to us.
Yeah, it definitely leaves you thinking about how films engage with history, tragedy, and memory. What responsibility does fiction have to fact? It's a great question to ponder.